I forgot that these routines sometimes get a little boring. Hopefully this time, now that I'm living in the Midwest, I don't summon a tornado. She is a person to me, even though I'm about to devour her.
Why do you look like an owl? Oh my gosh, you're such an owl.
Hi, my name is lynndjung. I am a speculative fiction writer and I make videos on this channel about writing, books, and pretty much whatever else I feel like. We are back, kind of. I haven't actually filmed fresh content in a hot minute. I filmed like a couple of vlog updates for my last writing vlog, but it's been a minute since I've actually sat down and planned out a video and done it from start to finish, so we're going to get back into that today. I'm also kind of making an effort to re-diversify my content now that I am sort of moving into a new era of my life. I moved to States, I'm going to grad school in about a month or so here. Everything is different, so new month, new me. We're going to do something that I've done already, which is a famous author's writing routine. This week we're gonna take a page out of Neil Gaiman's book. Neil Gaiman is probably one of my favorite authors of all time. I've just been reading his stuff since I was a kid, and he's one of those people where his body of work is so amazing because there is stuff for children, there is stuff for adults, and it's all so different and interesting, but at the same time, it's all also very Neil. This is a tangent, but I saw him talk at my undergrad university in like 2019. I saw that he had an event randomly. I had to take the bus home from work, so I was still busing home from work. It was like an hour, and I was there in my scrubs at the ticket gate, and they were like, oh, we're out of tickets, but then this random man behind me was like, oh, do you want a ticket to this event? I have an extra. So thank you to that random man, I got to see Neil speak at my school for like 2 hours straight. It was glorious. But yeah, he's probably one of the only authors I've seen live or in person. I mean, it was a huge auditorium. I never actually interacted with him face to face. Anyway, we are going to go ahead and copy his writing routine. So I found a really simple version of his writing routine online. I obviously cannot vouch for how accurate or true this is, but we're gonna just follow along with it anyway because I like this one. It's simple, it doesn't demand too much. Like, I don't have to wake up at 4 a.m. every day for the next couple days or anything like that. He just sequesters himself away to a safe space, completely alone with just a cup of tea and a notebook or some paper and some pens, and he just writes for about 5 hours in the afternoon to evening. So the writing time frame is usually around 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. My schedule's a little wonky this week, so for the next 3 days I might do like a 3 to 8 or a 2 to 7, but I will try to get that 5 hours in. And I think the most important and interesting part of this routine is really just the fact that he writes longhand. As far as I can tell, it sounds like he writes in different sessions until the piece is complete. And then once it's completely written out in that handwritten form, he goes ahead and types it up and does a simultaneous edit as he's sort of transcribing it. That kind of tickles my brain in a way I can't fully explain or describe, but I really want to try it out. And so I've decided to work on a short story. It's actually a completely new concept. It's a cli-fi piece that very much ties back to my roots, my upbringing in the Korean American community in Southern California specifically. It's very much just the seed of an idea still. I did some brainstorming literally this morning, and I have a general idea of what direction I want to take the piece, but since it's such a fresh idea, I figured it'd be really interesting to just kind of slap out like a 0 draft or draft 1, and then hopefully on day 3 we can type it up and see. Obviously we don't really know how this will go. There's another thing, whenever I do these famous author routines, something goes really wrong. Like the last time I did one, I think it was for, it was Ursula Guin. Oh my god. And an actual hurricane hit California. Hopefully this time, now that I'm living in the Midwest, I don't summon a tornado. So that's basically it for this intro. I'll be doing this for 3 days, and today's gonna be the first day after I get my morning routine done. I am going to the gym today in the afternoon, so I probably won't start writing until 3, but once I do, no technology, only this notebook, only my pens, and I'm just going to isolate myself and work for 5 hours. Okay, that is the intro, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Bye. Cutie.
look like an owl. Oh my gosh, you're such an owl. Stop being an owl.
Hi, so it's like 3:30, so definitely a late start, but I had that workout. I worked with like one of the employees at the gym who basically gave me a personal training session, and it was absolutely brutal. But I feel really good. I'm starving, so I made some Brussels sprouts, and I have my coffee rather than tea just because I think I'll need the little energy kick here to keep me up. We're gonna be working on that cli-fi short story. I'm just gonna be writing longhand, so I'm about to put away my laptop here and just get rid of all technology except for the stuff I'll be filming with. I think I'm probably going to settle for about a 4-hour session. It seems like the Neil Gaiman schedule is pretty flexible and I just have a lot to get done today. Plus, eventually I'm going to have to eat real dinner because I worked out so much. So we're just gonna see how long I can go. And then tomorrow I guess will be a little bit more to the actual schedule because I just have a little bit less going on. Here is the notebook that I'm going to be writing in. It's a very cute one from Notebook Therapy that I got years ago. At this point, I'm one of those notebook hoarders and I will spend quite a bit of money on a nice notebook and then never write in it because it just feels like I'm doing something, like committing some horrible sin by destroying these beautiful notebooks, but we're doing that today. I do have a couple of the first lines jotted down in my notes app from when I was sort of brainstorming this morning, so I think I'm going to transcribe those first few lines so I kind of have a jumping off point, and because I like them. Yeah, maybe jot some notes down about my ideas for the story that I came up with as well, just so I have something to work with while I'm away from technology. But I am pretty excited to unplug for the afternoon, so yeah, this will be a fun one, I think. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. I guess I'll just be filming myself writing longhand. I don't know if that's gonna be kind of boring or whatever. I'll try to jazz it up. I try to do these little cinematic flares here and there, so you'll see some of that. Bye. Okay, we are done for the day. I just, finished up and had some dinner. Honestly, I feel like I only wrote for like 2 or 3 hours today just because the things that were happening on the other ends, like the brackets of that time slot, were just really overwhelming. But definitely tomorrow I'm gonna make an effort to sit down and do the whole 1 to 6. As for how handwriting has been going, I've written, let's see, it's weird to gauge my word count without the actual word count present, but I've written around like 1, 2, 3, 4.5 pretty densely written, tightly written pages. It's a little bit tricky. The pacing is harder to grasp because I can't do the thing that I usually do to keep my pacing in check when I'm drafting on a computer, which is go back and edit and just like shift lines around and get a sense of how the pacing is going. The first couple pages that I wrote really dragged out and really like overdid it with explaining the world building and being in the main character's head. As I started to get more into the actual story, those beats started coming a lot faster, so pacing is definitely going to be something that I will have to look at in that edit. But otherwise it felt pretty freaking good, man. I don't know. It's definitely very nice to have no distractions. I will say that I reached for my phone more than once, but not having the distraction of working on a computer where you can open up a tab at any point, you can get pinged, you can get emails, so many different things can happen while you're working on a computer. It is definitely very nice to sort of simplify that and just get down to the bare bones, pen and paper. Other thing is that my hand does tend to cramp. I just don't have a lot of stamina for writing on paper. It is nice. I do enjoy the fact that I can use a bunch of different color pens. I feel like I don't get to use my different colored pens that often, and so it makes me wonder why I even have them. And of course it's nice to actually use these notebooks that have been sitting around and collecting dust for who knows how freaking long at this point. So yeah, that's pretty much a recap of my day. I don't love this story. I think a good edit is definitely what it's gonna need at the end of this, but I've made good progress. I feel like I was able to consistently sort of push myself to write that next line, that next paragraph, to just keep going up until the point where it was dinner. So it was all in all a pretty good writing day, and that's it for today. So I'll catch you guys again tomorrow. Bye. So I actually just deleted my entire intro spiel. Why? I don't actually know. Little recap, it is officially day 2 of the Neil Gaiman challenge. I'm not going to start writing for another hour. It's only like 11:43, so I'm going to start at 1 p.m. and go until 6, or try to go until 6. And I'm also going to toss my phone out the window and just film using my camera, because my camera doesn't allow me to respond to texts. Just to get you guys situated, right now I'm about to dive into lunch, so I've just made myself a sandwich. I'm having some leftover fruit tart that I made for a party a couple days ago. She, as in the fruit tart, she is a person to me, even though I'm about to devour her. Is not so pretty now, but she was this pretty a couple days ago when I first made her. I love making this fruit tart. It's super simple, it's really impressive, and just fresh fruit, custard, and like a sort of crunchy, almost cookie-ish crust. You can't win more than that when it comes to a pastry. I woke up this morning and the story that I was moderately happy with yesterday suddenly feels disgusting to me now. That's a little bit melodramatic, but I've just been feeling so dissatisfied with it, fundamentally dissatisfied. And I think it's because I could really afford to push it more into a speculative direction. Right now, it's very tame. It's very like, I want to almost say like conservative, not in the political sense, but in the sense that it's more fiction, and honestly more literary fiction leaning than speculative fiction or cli-fi or sci-fi or whatever you want to call it. It's just not weird enough or strange enough or speculative enough. It's not speculating about anything. It's a very realistic take on cli-fi. I don't want it to be that. I want it to be so much weirder and more imaginative, and I don't know why my imagination is not kicking in this instance. I suspect it has something to do with my science background. Like, it's just sort of hard for me to write speculatively about something that I studied. I don't know if that makes sense. So that is definitely something I'm going to have to brainstorm today during that 5-hour session. I would really just like to come up with something that makes the story weirder, more unique, more cli-fi, more fiction, as opposed to climate. But other than that, I don't know, I feel like yesterday was pretty good. I know the session was short. I know it was quite short, actually. I think it was less than 3 hours even. Today, we're really going to go for that home run stretch. We're gonna push it, and hopefully we'll get some words in. My soft, tentative goal is to finish this first or 0 draft today so I can start typing it up tomorrow, but with the brainstorming that I want to implement into the routine, we kind of don't know how that's gonna pan out, so we're gonna just see. That's pretty much my update. I'm going to just show you guys as I write. I don't know how many more angles I can get of me writing by hand and then getting a hand cramp and then continuing to write by hand, but we're gonna just have that happen, and then I'll do a little update to wrap up the day, and then I'll see you guys tomorrow. Oh, you can see like the edge of my sandwich. I'm so sorry. I forgot that these routines sometimes get a little boring, because after like a day or two you kind of know what you're doing already, so I wonder when something bad will happen. Hopefully not. You know, fingers crossed, we're not manifesting that. That's all. I'll see you guys in a little bit. It's a bit before 6, so I only got 2 pages of writing finished today. It's pretty much all the pink here and some of the purple, like a little bit over, like 2¼ pages. But the thing is that I have just been feeling so slow and stuck with the story now that I know that there's something I'm dissatisfied with about it in terms of the big picture. It's so hard to just carry on and continue writing it. I might push a little bit more in a little bit here, because honestly there were some interruptions today. I had to run some emergency errands and just other stuff. Like, I left the station, I was not here the whole day, but it was a fair amount of good writing. Now that we're on day 2, let's do a little bit of reflection. I do definitely see the benefit of sort of like locking yourself away, no technology, no distractions, just pen and paper, but I just don't think that's something that I could personally do every day and still feel productive. My best workflow is definitely on my computer, for better or for worse. I kind of need to have the whole document there. I kind of need to be able to go back and fix mistakes very quickly, as you can really only do with typing with computers. So this would be more of like an exercise or a once in a while to get yourself back into the swing of things, or really push yourself sort of thing for me. It definitely would not work for my everyday. But we do have one more day of this, so I will see you guys again tomorrow. Really brief update for today was pretty boring and straightforward, so I will talk to you guys again very soon. Bye. So it's officially the last day of this challenge. It's Wednesday, May 1st. It's almost 1:30. I got a little bit of a late start. And originally I was supposed to go out and go to like the library or a coffee shop and just settle in with my notebook and work there for a bit. But something happened, because something always has to happen when I do one of these writing challenge vlogs. It's nothing too serious. I just don't really want to leave the house right now. But even though this isn't going exactly according to plan, I did want to show you guys a little something. I've been sort of focusing on evolving my personal style lately, which basically just means that I've been putting a lot more consideration into my outfits, into how I present myself. And I feel like as my style has matured, I have been leaning more toward accessories, because accessories really do make an outfit. So a lot more jewelry. But the one thing that I feel like I've been missing all this time has been a statement bag. So I was super excited when teddyblake offered to send me one of the bags from their new line, Teddy by teddyblake, and I'm in love.
This is the Giulia Stampato in dark red. It is made out of premium Italian leather, it smells amazing, and the construction is super sturdy. It's large enough to carry everything that I need for a day of writing without being too bulky. It's made in one of my favorite colors, and it's also just undeniably gorgeous. Teddyblake's bags have a luxury feel without the luxury price tag, and they have a ton of unique available styles and colors, as well as more classic looks. If you're looking for a unique or classy purse that doesn't sacrifice quality for affordability, then definitely check out their site, which is linked in the description box below.
Highly recommend that you go check them out. So many styles to pick from, you can browse, everything is super affordable, especially for bags that are this well made and this high quality. So thank you so much to teddyblake for sending me this bag. I am going to be using her forever. Today's writing. I'm kind of caught in the middle. I'm stuck between finishing up that short story. I feel like I only have a scene or two left and then it'll be done, or just diving into something else, because in the state that it's in, where I'm just kind of dissatisfied with the core premise and like so many big things about it, I don't know if it's worth necessarily seeing it through to the end. But I'm not feeling terribly inspired to work on any of my other projects in this form. I guess I'm just not feeling all that inspired, which kind of is a bummer. That's been the name of the game so far. I will say that I have sort of been itching to revise mods. I haven't been able to put a ton of hours into mods these past few days, and I'm definitely missing her. I also just kind of miss working on my computer and typing. I love typing. It's just so much faster of a workflow. I'm sorry, Neil. Maybe I'll do like an hour, 2 hours here. I guess it is worth it to just try to finish the story so I have something complete, and maybe I can work with the bare bones here and just sort of implement any changes I come up with for the world and the setting and the premise as, you know, I type it up. I don't know. I just don't know. Is it worth it to see a story through to the end if you're already not happy with it and you know that you're going to end up ripping it up and rewriting huge parts of it anyway? I don't know. Again, I am going to try to go for as long as possible, but it is an awkward sort of time frame to have that 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. slot fully taken up by sitting down and working. I personally could never, unless I am fully hyperfixated, I don't think I could ever work for 5 hours straight like that, even though I haven't been showing it because, you know, that's not the challenge. I have been taking breaks quite often and like checking my phone, doing other things, not focusing for that entire time. So it's hard. It's definitely a challenge. It's one that I am obviously not disciplined enough to do properly, but if it works for you or if it works for anyone, you know, good for them. This is just not the routine for me, or the system for me, more accurately. Other stuff, I don't know. Now that I've got you here, I feel like I want to chat a little bit. So I've actually been reading a fair amount. I recently got a library card here, so now I have a Libby account. I finished a short story collection called Gods of Want by K-Ming Chang. That was recommended to me by a viewer like ages ago, and it just kind of stuck with me because they very highly recommended it. I did enjoy that collection quite a bit. There were definitely some perspective things that I found really interesting. So it's sort of a surrealist look at the various facets of being queer and Chinese American, and it often concentrates the surrealism on the narrator of any of the given story's family members, so often the family members who are direct immigrants. And I feel like that's something I've noticed in a lot of diaspora authors' work, where you kind of like, and I feel this too, I recognize it because I've also experience this. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I think it's a very interesting perspective thing that a lot of diaspora kids share, is that because there is that fundamental disconnect between your experiences and your parents' experiences, it's a little bit harder for us to see them as humans. So throughout the stories that were in this collection, there was definitely a through line of my parents, my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins are like almost these mythical creatures. Like they are so strange, so alien, so other to me. And it's that, I don't even want to say it's internalized xenophobia. There's definitely a correlation there. But I do think that's a theme that I've been noticing lately in diaspora authors' work. So yeah. Sorry, I had to go help put a car back together. I honestly, it's been like probably, yeah, almost an hour. So I kind of don't remember what I was talking about. In other words, that through line, that theme is something that I've noticed in other diaspora authors' works, especially Asian American, and I find it really fascinating, and different people handle it in different ways. It's not an inherently negative thing, but it's definitely an interesting pattern I've noticed. And yeah, so that's what I read recently. Right now I'm actually reading The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. I did her writing routine a couple videos ago. I don't even know when. That was when the hurricane hit, so I was still in California. Very, very interesting. If you don't know the premise of this, it's one where an envoy from this like galactic sort of embassy of humans has gone down to sort of make contact and try to lightly convince offshoot humans of this world called Winter or Gethin that they should join, you know, this big embassy. And there are a lot of things that make their society unique on Winter, but one of the features they have that's talked about the most is that it's an entirely gender-neutral society and everyone is basically gender fluid. Ursula K. Le Guin's dad was, I think, a professor of anthropology, so you can definitely see elements of that. Like, she very much approaches world building and, you know, societal commentary through the lens of sci-fi with an anthropologist's lens, and I think that's super interesting. I think it's really cool to see how our perspectives and our experiences and our areas of study or the things we've been exposed to influence how we approach world building and what we prioritize as authors. But obviously this is not a video about Ursula K. Le Guin. This is a video about me trying to write like Neil Gaiman and continuously getting interrupted through no fault of anyone's. I'm going to go ahead and start writing in a second here now. Still got the same old handy dandy notebook. In that hour I've decided I'm just gonna go ahead and work on the same short story until it's done. And then hopefully I'll be able to type some of it up in a little bit here. Let's just dive right into it. It is 4 o'clock. I have just finished the first draft of this as yet untitled short story. So with that, we are officially finished with the Neil Gaiman 3-day writing routine test. I don't think I'm gonna type this up because I'm so upset with it. That's a little harsh. It's very, very mid. I'm so annoyed that it's so mid that I'm gonna let it simmer for a little bit. I don't think there's any point necessarily in typing it up right now because I can see that there's going to be so many changes that I need to implement before it goes on to its second draft. But yeah, I did finish writing a short story from beginning to end in 3 days, in just 3 writing sessions, and that is pretty freaking incredible, honestly, especially with how my productivity has been lately. It's kind of been all over the place. In terms of this writing routine, I think it's a really interesting one. I had written this thought down in my notes, but as I was looking over the routine, I was so sure that this is not something that Neil Gaiman or anyone does or could do every day. Just life gets in the way. My responsibilities as a human being don't end at 1 o'clock. Like, there's so much to do in the day that it's kind of just not feasible for me to just write for 5 hours straight, and I think that's very normal. I do think that it's good practice and something that I should make a little bit more effort to do, especially as I get into the busier season, to just set aside that time to write, which is kind of why I like doing writing vlogs, because it peer pressures me into writing more consistently because I need content. So setting aside time to write, great. Handwriting your stuff, I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on this one. As you can see, it kept me on track, kind of. I mean, I did keep picking up my phone, especially today. I think it's sort of a net neutral for me just because with the way that I write and with the way my brain processes things, I just don't think in a linear fashion. So it's kind of hard for me to be forced to write linearly, as in like write each scene and line of the story in order, which is kind of what you have to do with handwriting. With handwriting, there's definitely also the issue of your hand cramping up, and it's just not as easy to get a lot of words down as quickly as you would be able to typing. There's some logistical issues and some issues just that are specific to me and my weird brain and how I process and tell stories, but all in all, I think if you do need to just like bust out a scene or bust out a chapter, I think this is good actually for short bursts, not for a full book. If I tried to write a full book, I don't think it would ever get done. For something like a very short story like flash fiction, or again, just, you know, trying to get that one scene that's been bothering me out of the way and forcing it out of myself, that would probably be very helpful to do with the handwriting method, but it's just not an everyday thing for me. And then third, the isolation. I don't know, I had one day where, I don't think I showed it in the shot, but like my partner was right there. And I felt more productive that way. Not only because he took away my technology, but just because it's kind of nice for me to have someone to bounce ideas off of or to just have another presence. It gets kind of isolating for me and I get too caught up in my thoughts almost when I'm just left to my own devices like that. So I kind of am the type of person who likes working in a busier area, like a library or a cafe. So I think the isolation thing, again, something that I might do once in a while just to lock in, to get myself in that headspace and to like force myself to be productive, but not an everyday thing. I do think this was a very fun experiment, and even though the short story didn't turn out the way that I wanted to necessarily, I'm super glad that I got it finished. Now at least I have something to work with, kind of. So now we've done 3 authors' routines. It was Donna Tartt, then Ursula, Guin, and now Neil. So let me know if you have any other author routines you'd like me to try out. The weirder, the better. I've been wanting to do Kurt Vonnegut's for ages, but it does involve alcohol consumption, so I'm just trying to like gear myself up for that and also give myself a nice span of maybe 2 or 3 days where I definitely am not needed for anything. But other than that, I am wide open to any ideas or suggestions. Thank you so much for following along on this ride, and I'll see you guys next time.